the day, hour after hour, he got so sick. We had to stop several times, and he had to get out, and he was throwing up, and each time he felt so bad, and he said, "I'm so sorry." And I said to him, he's just a young guy and a thin guy, not much to him, and I said, maybe this isn't for you. I thought we're going to kill the guy. I said, you don't have to do this. I said, maybe your part is staying in town and just helping coordinate things. That would be amazing. And he said, no, I want to do this. And so off we go, and he gets sick again, and I'm so sorry we go through it. We get out there to this family, and after about an hour or two, he comes to me. He's so excited, he's so pumped. He said, Bill, next to my wedding, this is the most exciting day of my life. I love these people. I said, well, what about the trip? Oh, it's nothing. He said it was worth it. The next day, they've got him all dressed in reindeer skin outfit. And I look, I'm riding on a reindeer sleigh. A reindeer sleigh passes me, and guess who's driving it? Valentine's driving it, looking like one of them. And he says, they've just adopted me. I'm one of Peter's boys now. And phenomenal. But Peter said to me, he said, thank you for coming, and thank you for sending workers, because he said, before Jesus, we had no hope. We were so sad, we were so heavy, and we were poor, he said. We had just a very small group of reindeer. And affluence, of course, is measured in reindeer. They pull the sleighs, they eat them raw, and want to know how that tastes? I have no idea. I'm a vegetarian over there, so don't. Which really narrows it down because there are no vegetables. So, but cheese and bread, that works. And he said we had just a small herd of reindeer. They use reindeer to make their tents and make their clothes. And he said, now we have, since Jesus, he said, we have the largest reindeer herd in this entire region. He said, unsaved men out here are asking me, how come we're doing so well? And he said, I preach Jesus to them and say, if you give your life to Jesus, he'll bless you too. It's a blessing of the Lord. And they understand the principles. It's phenomenal. They understand the principles far better than we do. The morning that we were going to be leaving, we're going to be traveling with them throughout the day and then leaving that late afternoon to head back. And Peter said to me that morning, the boys and I went out last night while you guys were sleeping. I said, did you? He said, yes. And of course, it's all through an interpreter. He said, we prepared an offering for you. We want to give an offering. He said, God has blessed us and we got to sow. He said, we got to give to the ministry to help. And I thought, what would they give? Is really, they don't have money. Guess what they gave? They gave us a reindeer. They gave us a whole reindeer. I'm thinking, what's he going to give me? You wouldn't believe some of the stuff I brought home on some of these trips. Gwen always meets me at the door. What are you going to do with that? Not in the house. So we got a room in our church. We call it the Arctic room. It's full of all kinds of interesting things and creatures, and they're all dead. But they went out that night and they killed a reindeer, and they skinned it and they cut it all up, and they had it all ready for us to give us. That's a big offering. It was a very big sacrifice. It was a very expensive offering. Well, what would I do? I didn't bring it home and give it to Gwen. We gave it to our workers who live in the villages, who have families that they have to feed. But I'm here to tell you, God wants to bless. I don't care whether the principles of God work. They work here, they work in the Arctic, they work anywhere in the world. This is not a North American thing. God's looking for people to bless. But a lot of people won't let God bless them because of the past. They're holding back. Say, well, you just don't understand where I come from. You don't understand my family. You don't understand all of this. Let me tell you something. If you're going to get out of debt, if you're going to see this happen, you got to start doing some things. You got to start giving. You got to start tithing. And I believe tithe, yes, it's God's. It belongs to the local church without any strings attached. It doesn't belong to a television ministry, an evangelist. Then you give offerings on top of that, and I don't believe you'll ever be blessed of God unless you do that. We have literally given ourselves out of debt. Our ministry has given itself out of debt. Anytime we need finances, God says you got to give more. Doesn't make any sense, but it works. It absolutely works. And then when you start doing that, then get some counsel. Get somebody to help you. And don't ask one of your friends to help you. Their finances, because your friends are in the same mess you are. You know, we go to people who are in debt and don't have any money and ask them, would you help me? Find somebody who has all their bills paid, find somebody that's totally out of debt, find somebody that has the money to do whatever God tells them to do, and say, would you give me some counsel here? Would you tell me how to do this? I want to learn. If you're going to mentor, mentoring is a shortcut to success. And find somebody that is really walking in this and say, would you help me in this? Because God wants you to get out of this situation. Maybe it's broken relationships. Maybe people have done some nasty things to you. And we say, welcome to the club. God had people who he blessed, he gave. They were Adam and Eve. He poured into them. He just honored them. He did so many wonderful things for them, gave them paradise. Every day walked with them, and they betrayed him. What did God do? Didn't build a wall and said, okay, you're done. God says, I still love you, so I'm going to send somebody to fix this. But many times people can't get through the past. This is probably the biggest thing. If you're part of any community, if you're part of a church, you're going to get hurt. I said to our people when we started our church, there was a point when I'd stand up here years ago and say, you know, this is a safe place for you. If you come here, you're not going to get hurt. But I realized I can't say that. As long as there's people around, somebody's going to say something. Somebody's going to do something. Somebody's going to disappoint. Somebody's going to fail. Somebody's going to break a promise. I mean, that's humanity. And every one of us have had these situations where we've been hurt. We've been betrayed. A lady said to me a while ago, she said, nobody can hurt you more than your kids. And some of you are here and have been hurt by your family. But I said, nobody can bring you more joy than your kids. Well, maybe your grandkids can. Let me tell you, we've got 12 grandchildren, and we've got one great-grandchild, and my goodness, that's amazing. For Gwen, who is what are you, 32 now, or what is this? I don't know, it's phenomenal. And our kids have helped us in the ministry and served in the ministry, but I said they're getting so old now. Our kids are older than us, so we've just got our first grandchild. Our oldest grandchild, Rachel, she's what, 24? She's now working with us and helping us in phenomenal. She's been on staff with Times Square Church in New York with David Wilkerson and Carter Conlon for a few years, and now she's come to help her papa. So that's amazing. Nobody can bring more joy than your kids. But maybe you're here tonight and you say, I just can't get past this. Let me tell you a little story. Gwen loves to tell this story, but I'll tell it. She loves to tell it because it's about me. And she thinks it's funny. We were in Peterborough, and this was back in the 1960s. Boy, that's the last century, you know. We were in Bible school, first year Bible school. And it was Sunday morning, and it was a beautiful morning. It was summertime or springtime, and it was warm. And so we're driving to church. I had my best suit on, well, probably my only suit on, and white shirt and tie, and Gwen was all dressed up. And going to church, the windows were down, and I was just feeling so good. And I felt something hit my head. I had no idea what it was. And I put my hand up and brought it down, and this white stuff was all over my hand. I still didn't know what it was, but it really didn't smell nice. And I looked at Gwen, see, now we were only newlyweds. We got married and went to Bible school for a honeymoon. That wasn't a great honeymoon, so we decided we'd just stay. We're still on our honeymoon. 44 years later, we're still on our honeymoon, but, you know, I didn't understand a lot, but I did understand that when you marry a wife, you have a helpmate, somebody that's there for you. And what you need in that moment is somebody to be so compassionate. All you want is some sympathy. All you need is somebody to say, oh, you poor baby, here, let me fix you. This was before Rodney Howard-Browne hit the scene. This woman got more joy, more laughter. Wasn't that holy, but it was, and the worst, now if it happened to her, it would have been funny to me. If it happened to you, it'd be funny, but when it happens to you, it really isn't very funny. The more she laughed, the less funny it became. But I made a decision. Rather than going